I'd like to welcome back Allyson Felix, Olympic champion runner and one of our new Project Play champions, to get her thoughts on the story that leaders should try to tell in the coming years in terms of the delivery of youth sports. Allyson, I want to ask you about what type of sports system we should be aiming to build for children. Let's look out to 2024, the year of the Paris Olympics. You're a new mother. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
Your daughter will be about 6 then, right? 6 or 7?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the age at which kids enter youth sports. What type of experience and options do you hope await her?
I guess I really hope that when my daughter is that age, for her and, for the kids of her generation, that they'll have more access to sport, and that the barriers to entry for those sports won't be as high. I would love for her to, obviously play a variety of sport, but also, if she wants to fence or if she wants to ski or swim, whatever it is, that there won't be these preconceived ideas of what kids who play those sports look like, and that she'll have the resources to be able to do those things. And so, obviously I think there's work to be done to be able to have that happen. But that's what I imagine, her being able to have access to.
Mm-hmm. Are there certain populations of kids that you are most concerned about being, left out or locked out or even pushed out of sports?
Yeah, I'm always concerned about the underserved communities and underprivileged kids who don't have the resources or who don't have the parental support, who aren't going to be able to get to the location or, have the money to participate. And so those are the populations that I always think, have been left out for a really long time.
Yeah. One way that I've studied this a bit, one way that some countries have created a better foundation for youth sports is by developing a statement of sorts on what some call a children's rights in sport, right? A set of provisions that programs must abide to prioritize the needs of kids, the social, emotional, physical needs of kids through age 12. Norway did this. The declaration, which is supported by Norway's Olympic Committee and the NGBs, the national governing bodies of sports there, is designed to promote safety, access, love of game, and physical literacy for all kids. Do you think that's something we can or should explore here?
I think it's so interesting. And obviously, you've studied this in great detail. And I think the learnings that Norway has found, it's working for them. And so I think we have to explore that, because we are having such issues. And so I think obviously we have some challenges that America is different, and things that won't be the same. But I do think that there are things that should be applied. I think this idea of hearing kids and really listening to them is so interesting. Of course, I think, we have to set parameters, but I think we should be having conversations with our kids and really looking at them in a holistic way and not just singularly focused on them, in their skill level playing sports.
Yeah. If children were able to shape their activities, if their voice is more in the design of youth sports, what would we see? Would we see more free play? Would we see more, sports sampling, kids trying different activities? Would we see more of a focus on, just development of friendships, or how would it be different?
I think maybe the focus would not be so much on winning or intensity. I think we might see some of those things because that's really what draws a lot of kids into sport. It's having fun. It is making those friendships. It's finding your group of people. I know for me, when I, was drawn to sport, it was because of that. It wasn't because I wanted to be, this excellent runner. I wanted to have friends, and so I think we have to hear, what is taking kids away from being involved in sport. And once we know that, I think it will help us shape their activities. And if they have that input, I think we'll see them be more engaged.
Mm-hmm. You're one of the greatest Olympic champions ever. And you've done a lot of thinking about the Olympic movement in this country. How can the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee and the Olympic movement in general, including the NGBs, better support youth sports? Any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I loved what you guys talked about on a previous conversation surrounding coaches and the training. And I really love this because it shifted the focus just from purely winning and more on the development of children. And I think we see so many coaches who are volunteering, giving their time. They're eager to get involved, but they don't necessarily have the skill or the tools to teach kids. And so I think by giving them, that education and that leadership, it really will in return, help and benefit our kids. And, having that connection, the youth sports having that connection to their NGBs, I think they could really, really benefit by that, and I think we need to see more involvement because, in return, more resources, and in the end, a better experience for our kids.
Yeah. What about Olympians themselves and professional athletes? How can they best support?
Well, I think that Olympians and professional athletes, we love to give back. I think we all remember our time, growing up playing sports and how it changed and shaped our life. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there for hands-on, engagement with kids and being able to share our own stories and to be able to support coaches and come alongside of them and kind of raise that excitement surrounding sport and not just focused on, becoming a professional athlete, but really talking about all of the ways that sport has influenced our life and help us really learn those foundational lessons that we apply to every area, which is so crucial.
Mm-hmm. You and Kobe were there with us from the start back in 2014, and he was a great champion of Project Play,
Yes.
and young people, especially girls. How do you look at his legacy when it comes to youth sports?
Oh man, I get emotional just thinking about, all that he did for youth sports, and particularly for women, and being that girl dad. And you just saw his face light up, coaching and being courtside with his daughter. And I just think about that video of him breaking down the game to her and what a cool moment. And I think he was just a champion for it. And he really saw it for what it was. And he could appreciate the skill and just the level of equality that he saw between men and women in sport. I just love that. He really, he really was a champion for that. And so I think he was just getting started, in that whole phase and of coaching and with his academy and all of that. But his legacy, lives on. And I think we have to now continue that work and continue to uplift girls in sport and just carry it on.
Well, and you're not starting from scratch. I mean, I know you, Allison. You've cared and you've dug into the issue of physical activity in kids for a good while now. You stayed with this. I mean, what do you hope your legacy will be from all the work you've done in this space?
I mean, I would hope to, follow in Kobe's footsteps, to raise that excitement and just champion the fight, of equality, but also of accessibility for kids, in all area codes and all, all levels. If you have a two-parent home, or if you don't, if you don't have a lot of resources, for them to all be able to really be able to participate in sport, because I know how that changes lives.
Yeah. Given we're living in a very tumultuous time right now. A lot of kids' lives have been disrupted. Their families are worried about money. Their play opportunities have sometimes disappeared. School is up in the air. Given the social and emotional needs of kids today, how should they be coached? Any ideas?
I think it really should be a holistic approach. I think for so long we have focused on just them excelling and winning. And I really think, I think about some of my greatest coaches and the way they coached me, yes, they were great coaches and, they cared about my skill, but they added to my life. You know, they cared about how I was doing in school and, you know, how my home life was. So I think that, you know, yes, we need to have the tools to be able to coach them on the field of play, but we also need to develop, you know, their skills and to use sport to help that, you know, time management and dealing with defeat, how to be a good team player, you know, all of these things that sport has just an incredible way of teaching you. I think that's the approach that we have to take is just really, you know, holistically coaching them.
Yeah, right. You know, some Olympic sports at the college or really most levels lack racial diversity, right? You can run through the, you know, Olympic sports, Winter Olympic sports, some Summer Olympic sports. How do we get more kids who are minorities playing these sports and advancing through the system?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had an easy answer. It's a really challenging problem, and I think a lot of it has to do with resources. I mean, I think about how I grew up. I grew up in the heart of LA, and had I wanted to ski, you know, I didn't even see snow until, you know, I was almost a teenager. And you think about getting to the snow, and once you get to the snow, you know, a lift ticket and coaching, and it's so expensive. So resources is huge in, you know, in changing this. So I don't have an easy answer, but I know that we've got to do better. We've got to expose our kids to a variety of sports and not just the traditional ones. And so it's a big task, but you know, we've got to keep pushing forward.
How important is it for kids to see people who look like them playing these sports?
Oh my gosh, it is crucial. I mean, we know that representation matters, and I think you know, by seeing, you know, people who look like you playing sports, you kind of break down those walls of like, this sport isn't for me, you know, and that's, it's so important. I remember watching the '96 games and watching Dominique Dawes. And here was this young girl who looked just like me. And I was just fascinated by her. And I had no aspirations to like play sports whatsoever. But by her just, you know, being out there and competing, I was at home trying to like order a balance beam for my backyard. So it does something incredible when you see someone out there, you know, participating in a sport.
Yeah. You know, we have a workshop during the summit on how youth coaches can talk to their athletes about matters involving race to promote acceptance and really limit attrition, you know, giving kids that sense of belonging, like, oh, you know, yeah, I should be here.
Yeah.
Any advice for coaches on how to talk to their kids
I think
about?
Yeah, I mean, I think just having those honest conversations are good. I mean, sometimes they're difficult, but I think the more that we do it, the better off we are. We really have to kind of lay things out and talk about what's happening in the world and talk about people who look different from us and understand that we are really all the same. And what that looks like in playing sports. You know, I think it's a great way to bring, you know, to bring kids together with others who don't, you know, who don't look like them. So I think the workshop is great, and I think we have to keep encouraging those sometimes tough conversations.
And again, thank you for digging in with us.
Oh no, thanks for having me. I'm excited about, you know, all that you guys are doing.